Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Now, we are today having a look at marker spray. I think this is quite important. It was probably about 12 months ago I made some content about here in the UK your law-given right to defend yourself. A lot of things have changed over the last 12 months and there are more and more cases that the media are trying to cover up about females and men and women, but more importantly for females being attacked. There's a lot of things I have to try and skirt around because of YouTube and its far left extremist kind of policies. But what I would say more so than any other piece of content, if you're a father with daughters, if you're a brother with a sister, if you're an uncle with nieces, if you're a son with a mum, if you could subscribe, that'd be amazing. But even more so, I think this is a piece of content that I think is very important to share with friends and family. If you could do that, I think that would be great. I don't usually ask that sort of stuff, but if you could share this, then I think it's important that we bring attention to these things. Now there's three things that I want to kind of discuss. The first two I'll go through hopefully reasonably quickly and not ramble too much, and then we will have a look at what these actually are. So the first thing being, now I have made some content on your right to self-defense. Everybody in the UK has a right to defend themselves, so that's the first point. If you are being attacked, then you can defend yourself. I forget the term that they used, but it's a reasonable defense. So if somebody comes at you with fists, then you can defend yourself with your fists. It has to be proportional. That's the word that they use. If somebody attacks you with their fists and you pick up a baseball bat, that's not proportional. But you do have the right to defend yourselves. You also have the right to defend others. If my daughter is being attacked, I have the right to step in and defend my daughter. And again, it has to be proportional. If somebody's attacking my daughter with a baseball bat, I can't run that other person over with my car. That's not proportional. One of the unfortunate things under and I'm going to say British law is an umbrella. Obviously we have English and Welsh law, we have Scottish law and we have Northern Irish law, but the laws are all pretty much the same, but just with subtle regional variances. So when I say British law, I appreciate that we're all different states and nations, but I'm putting it under the umbrella term. But under kind of British law, the stupid thing is it's illegal for you to carry something for self-defense, because it then becomes an offensive weapon under the Offensive Weapons Act, and they have different acts within different regions, because you are intending to harm somebody with that. Even though you're defending yourself, you will still harm somebody whilst doing that, and you'll be prosecuted. So picture the scene, a young lady is down a dark alleyway, somebody comes to sexually assault her, she has some mace or some pepper spray, sprays it in their eye. When the police then detain her and say, why did you spray, where did that spray come from? Oh, I always keep pepper spray in my purse. She's going to get arrested for that under the Offensive Weapon Act. To use mace, to use pepper spray and parva spray, which is what the police have, you have to have a firearms license. People in the US, let's hear the comments down below how freaking ridiculous it is. You have to have a firearms license to carry pepper spray. We can't even have that stuff here in the UK. So that's the first point. You have the right to defend yourself. You just can't carry an item to defend yourself. It automatically under English, Welsh, Scottish, Northern Irish law, it becomes an offensive weapon if you are carrying it to defend yourself. Fucking ridiculous. Now, the second thing is, recently, and I won't get into this too much because as soon as you start talking about this sort of stuff, you get labelled with certain names. Over the last 12 months, especially under Princess Starmer's laws and rules, there have been a lot of people coming into the UK that don't necessarily understand our laws. If you go to cities like London under Comrade Khan's kind of leadership, every bad crime statistic is up. Grape, sexual assault, muggings, robbings, carjackings, stabbings, murders, even abductions of females and children walking down the streets, being pulled into cars, all of that sort of stuff. Every single one of those is up. So what we're actually doing is we're allowing more unvetted people into our country that don't understand our laws, don't understand our way of life, and then to make it doubly kind of useless, we are not allowing people to be able to defend themselves. You can defend yourself, you just can't carry something to defend yourself. One of the most useful forms of defense, especially for females, and having these in the bag, is something like pepper spray. So pepper spray, you spray it in their eyes, it gets into their eyes and it instantly kind of blinds them and causes a lot of heat in their eyes. And then secondly, it gets into the nasal cavity. As soon as you're taking that first breath, everything in your head, down in the back of your throat, starts to burn. Now, with pepper spray being illegal here in the UK, you can only carry something that doesn't cause any harm whatsoever to that third party, and that's where these come in. So these are from a German company, and these are marker sprays. So on the inside of here works exactly the same as something like a pepper spray does. So you have a little can on the bottom of here which stores the marker. I believe this is a red marker. It should say on it. I think it's red. Well, we'll see in a minute, because I've not used one of these before. But these are reasonably inexpensive. I bought both of these from Amazon. I think they were $19.99 for 2 of these. I'm going to mess around with these today. But I also bought some extra ones to give to my daughters, because I want to make sure that they're safe whilst they're out. The top, there is a plastic lid to this, and then on the inside here there is your button. Now when you first get this, there's a piece of like sellotape on the top just to make sure that it doesn't kind of go off mid-transit. But what I will say, looking down into here, you might not be able to see this. I'll see if I can get a video from the top. The button itself, you have to push the button down with some force and it breaks 2 seals on the inside. So if you have this in your bag and you're rummaging around, you don't necessarily have to worry about, you know, negligent discharge. You don't have to worry about setting this off by accident. You have to press it that first time with enough pressure to be able to break both of those seals. And there are 2 seals, yes, there's one on the left here and one on the right at the back, and then it will then spray out. Now what it sprays out is like an oil-based paint. So spray it in the person's face. Now what I would say is, I'm guessing there must be some sort of etiquette to this. So when said person ventures towards oneself, you say, no, sorry, go away. If they then continue, you say, I've got some spray, sally forth and go away. You probably use some nicer terms than that. I know a lot of the young ladies in the streets nowadays definitely have better swearing abilities than I do. And if they still continue to advance, that's when you can do this. That I'd say that's probably the correct etiquette. We're British. We like to think of things with an etiquette like that. And then spray it in the face. And what it will do is it will cover their face in this red dye or red paint. Because it's an oily kind of substance, if they then try and wipe it off, rather than being able to take it off their face, it will then transfer onto their hands and it will smear it in more. Now this is very difficult to get off. If you go home and wash several times, eventually it will come off. But the important thing is, if you spray this onto somebody and they try and rub it off, it's just simply not going to come off, and it's going to spread further about their body. The most important thing to do then is, once you've done this, you have 2 options. The first one I suggest you do, that is to about face and you run. Get to a certain position so that you can phone the police, you can give a good and accurate description of who the person is, and then also state that their face is now lit up bright red with this that you've just sprayed on them. The other one, the second one, is a little bit more risky, but if you want to try this, then do it. So, no, please stay back. Here's my spray. Spray it in the face, and then wind up and bosh in the bollocks. Once the assailant is then down on the floor, then run, phone the police. Now, the second one, as I mentioned, it's a little bit more trickier and you might get into a little bit more trouble, but hopefully you'll feel a little bit better about it. But phone the police, give the person a description, give the police the place, and as I mentioned, because this is difficult to get off, it'll be hard for them just to kind of wipe off, and they'll be covered in red and they'll be walking around town, whatever city that it is. And hopefully, because the police have now got your call and they're not out trying to find people putting like harmful words on the internet, they'll go out and they'll try and find this person. Now, sod's law, they'll probably spend a nice night in the cells and they'll get out the next day, because that's how policing works here in the UK now. But if you did go for the second option with a foot to the bollocks, it will make them kind of realise that they shouldn't do it next time. Anyway, so that's these. So here's one that I haven't unopened. It's just got that little bit on the top. So where should we do this? Let's find a tree. So this is the one that's open. That tree is about 1.5 meters away from me. As far as the width of the tree, it's maybe, I don't know, 15, no, it's less than that. Maybe, yeah, 10, 15 centimeters diameter. As I say, never used this before, so this should be fun. Okay, my body, my choice. So that was quite cool. Now, as you can see, that tree's pretty red. You're really not going to want that on you, and it foams up a little bit as well. Now, I have got a little bit on my finger, which is kind of weird because obviously that's not going to come off for a while. But in the grand scheme of things, if it's the option of SA or grape and getting a little bit of red on your finger, then I think everybody's going to go for a little bit of red on your finger. Now, this unfortunate individual here has now been marked up so that when the police eventually turn up, because they've got an important door to kick down because some granny in Widnes has just said something ever so slightly rude online or posted a strange meme. So when they've finished kicking down that granny's door, then they'll hopefully be able to find this individual because they've now been lit up in red. That's quite fun. I want to do the second one. So as mentioned, a little bit of elastic, sellotape on it. I will pick that up, I'm not going to leave that there. I wish I hadn't shook that now, just to see what would have happened if I hadn't have shook it. But I think it'd be alright anyway. Now on that one I did it with my finger. Should we do it thumb? So again, you know, they're there. No, stay back. That one's gone on my fingers a little bit more, so that's going to be fun. But again, I've got it on me? No, I haven't even got it on me. If it's a case of, do you want to have a little bit of red on your fingers, or do you want to be the worst that could possibly come out of that? I think a little bit of red on your fingers is definitely, you know, it's the lesser of two evils. Now, just off camera, I've got a towel, a wet towel, and I've tried to get that off, but my finger's bright red. You can see where it splattered at first and there on my thumb, but as I tried to rub it, all it's done is just kind of move that and it's painted the rest of my finger. You can see where that original bit is. It must be reasonably porous so that it soaks into your skin, but then it's kind of spread it around. So if you've had that just sprayed in your face and you're trying to get it off, you're just going to cover your hands in it, and then what will probably happen is you'll try and get it off by rubbing it on your clothes. I say you, let's call that the royal you, because I know the people that watch this are fine people and wouldn't try this themselves, or the naughty side of it. Yeah, and it's not too difficult to point and press either. You do have to add a little bit of pressure again just to get that kind of seal to break, but it's nothing too difficult. And then the jet that comes out of it, I was about 1.5 meters away, but I'm looking at the actual tree. Poor lad, he's covered in red now. But what you don't miss, you probably miss that first bit, but then it just takes a second just to kind of reassess and move the spray to the face, or you know, whatever it is. I guess at that point, as soon as somebody notices that it's going to be coming towards them, they'll probably try and cower away. But then I'd say, light up the back of the head, light up the clothes that they're wearing. If you can get it down the neck, get it wherever you can, because if they try and take off some of the clothes, if you can get it onto the skin, that's the bit that they can't wash it off. I tell you what, when I get home, I'll watch the bloopers. Watch the bloopers on this after I've said everything, and I'll try and wash my hands and see how easy this is to get off. But yeah, so my original point with this is I think it's incredibly important that we defend ourselves within the eyes of the law. The law is set up purposely to look after criminals. You can't even skirt around that nowadays. The way that Princess Starmer is changing things, the criminals are the people that are misunderstood. They're the ones that need the help and support, not people here in the UK. And unfortunately, the large cities, Manchester, Birmingham, to some degree Liverpool, but 100% London, stay out of them. And if you are going into them, take one of these with you. Of course, I'll leave some links below. If you do want to share this, I please highly recommend sharing this with anybody in your life that you think this will be useful to. I know I've rambled a little bit in there about some of the shit that's going on in our country, but just to keep the people in your life safe, this is a perfectly legal, within the eyes of the law here in the UK, this is a perfectly legal form of defence. It will light up that person and make it easier for the police to detain them. Probably give them some food, a nice warm sleep, and and a fucking pat on the back before they go out in the morning. But it will take them off the streets. It will also mean that they're covered in bright red, which might mean that for the next week they can't go out and sexually assault people. Anyway, so yes, I hope that helps. I rambled on way too much there, so yes, please do share this with people in your life that you think it will be useful for and that you want to protect. Now I'll leave some links below. As I mentioned, I did pick these up from Amazon, which is perfectly legal here in the UK. I think if you ever find this content in the future and you can't find them on Amazon, it's probably because Princess Starmer has changed rules so that we can't. But in the meantime, then they are perfectly legal. I'll leave those links below where you can pick some of these up. I'll leave some of my social media links below as well, so you can see more from me here on Moorlander EDC, and my sister channel Moorlander Tactical, where I look at more kind of everyday tactical stuff. And whether you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, as always, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC. Now it's been about half an hour since I was filming. I packed up my stuff, got home, washed my hands, and it's still on there. You really can't. Well, what I'd say is, so some of the bit where it's splashed on, that's still there. When I tried to wipe it off, the bit that's gone around there, that's come off. But that initial dye where it makes contact with your skin, it's ever so slightly come off. But yeah, if you get this on your hands, or at least if you sprayed in the face of the person, that you have to wash this off. You can't just kind of rub it off your face. So yeah, super useful. I try not to ramble, and I try not to get too much into the weeds with this stuff, but as a dad, I want to stay with the equality side. Men and women are equal, but society needs to address the fact that men and women are different. Males and females are different. If this is quite a blunt thing, but if females were able to protect themselves, rape statistics wouldn't have shot up so much in the last so many years. And it's hard to say that as a dad of two beautiful and intelligent young daughters. So any means that you can help to protect yourself if you're watching this and you're a female, or if you're a male and you want to help and protect the women in your life, then yeah, super useful. It's so shite that you have to skirt around stuff like this nowadays, that like the chance that something I might say is offensive to somebody, when if I offend you, I don't care, because for every one person that I might offend, there may be 3 other females that have got one of these and have stopped a serious sexual assault or a rape. Then I don't care. It's a weird thing to end on. It is a weird thing to end on. Anyway, I hope you're well. This is coming out Sunday. It's Remembrance Sunday. I want to say a huge shout out to all of the men and women that have served our great nation over the years. You guys are the genuine true heroes. Yeah, so cool. See you soon.